Alright, results time for UFC Vegas 111. Which prediction channels had the best and worst results for this event? But before we go into that, we first go over all the results per fight. Reese won versus McVeigh and most channels had this correct with 81%. His method of victory, a submission win, was picked correctly by 27% for all the channels and by 50% of the best MOV predictors. Marcus winning was picked correctly by 77% for all the channels and by the best predictors 67% and the best favorite predictors 73%. But his method of victory, a submission win, was picked correctly by 0%. And look at those average odds of 2,265. I'm wondering if some people won that bet. 64% of all the channels picked Gomez to win and 70% had her winning via submission. Almost everyone picked Hokit to win correctly. And also his method of victory, a KO TKO win, was picked correctly by almost everyone. And the same with Cavalcanti, almost everyone picked her to win and her method of victory, a decision win, was also picked by almost everyone. So far all the favorites won. But for the last fights, most of the underdogs, in terms of picks and in odds, won their fight. The first one is Jamal Emmers, who was a big underdog in picks. Only 16% of all the channels picked him to win. And only 3 channels or 5% had him winning via decision. Duncan was picked by 25% for all the channels. And him winning by KO TKO was picked by 13% of the channels, but by 40% of the best MOV predictors. Barcelos was picked by 23% for all the channels, but was picked a lot less by the best predictors with 15% and by the best underdog predictors only by 1 for 8%. And him winning via decision was picked by 21% of all the channels and by 30% of the best MOV predictors. Padilla was the small underdog in odds, but in picks he was the favorite with 53% for all the channels, but the best predictors had him winning 79% and the best underdog predictors 69%. And his KO TKO victory was picked by 11% of all the channels and 20% of the best MOV predictors. Juris Medic was the favorite in odds, but the underdog in picks. 31% of all the channels picked him to win and only 21% of the best predictors. And his KO TKO win was predicted by 30% of all the channels and by 40% of the best method of victory prediction channels. Almost every channel picked Joseph Morales to win, with 93% and 100% by the best predictors. And via submission was predicted by 64% but by 80% of the best MOV predictors. And in the main event Gabriel Bonfim won, who was the favorite in odds and also a slight favorite in picks. 57% of all the channels predicted he would win and 54% of the best predictors. But his KO TKO win was only predicted by one channel, Siesta MMA. For all the results in this video I only include channels that made picks on at least half of all the fights, so a minimum of 6. Which channels were the least accurate with predicting the winner for each fight? From number 7 to number 4 we have the following 13 channels with a correct pick percentage of 42% down to 33%. In third place we have Fight Fiend Forecast, he had 2 out of 7 predictions correct for 29%. The second least correct picks this week we have Cody from the Bookie Beatdown and Marcel from MMA Odds Breakers. Both of them had 3 out of 11 predictions correct for 27%. And the least accurate channel this week was Zlatan's Fight Picks. He picked the winner correct 3 out of 12 for 25%. For most accurate channels this week with their winner picks, in fourth place we have the following 5 channels with 8 out of 11 correct for 73%. In third place we have a total of 11 channels in alphabetical order with 9 out of 12 correct for 75%. In second place we have King of Crackdown, Tyrell from the Running Mouth MMA Show and The Wager Zone. All 3 of them had 9 out of 11 correct for 82%. And in first place the most accurate channel this week with their winner picks was UFC VODs. He had a total of 10 out of 12 correct for 83%. So congrats to UFC VODs for being the most accurate channel this week. And here's the complete overview of all 121 channels that I've tracked this week, which also include channels that made picks on less than half of all the fights, with their correct picks, total picks and correct pick percentage. What if you'd blindly followed every pick a channel had made and placed a $100 moneyline bet on each of them? Well, this would be the results. From number 10 to number 4 we have the following 7 channels with a return on investment from minus 39% down to minus 50%. In third place for least profitable channel with their winner picks we have Cody from the Bookie Beatdown with a return on investment of minus 55%. In second place with a return on investment of almost minus 60% we have Fight Fiend Forecast. And in first place for least profitable channel, if you had placed a $100 moneyline bet on each pick they had made, we have Marcel from MMA Oddsbreakers with a return on investment of minus 61% over his 11 predictions, for a loss of $671. Now, which channels could have made you the most money if you had blindly followed every pick they had made and placed a $100 moneyline bet on each of them? From number 10 to number 4, we have the following 7 channels with a return on investment of 33% up to 38.9%. In third place, we have Fight IQ with Van with a return on investment of 39.3%. With an ROI of 41.4%. In second place, we have Pure Picks. So number 10 to number 2 is pretty close together in return on investment percentage, with a difference of less than 9% between number 2 and number 10. But the channel in first place did a lot better. And that channel is UFC FUTS, and he had a great return on investment of 56.8%, which is more than 15% higher than number 2, for a profit of $682. So congratulations to UFC FUTS for being the most accurate and the most profitable predictor this week with their winner picks. And here's the complete overview of all 121 channels that I've tracked this week, which as always also include channels that made picks on less than half of all the fights, with their total money won or lost, their return on investment, their correct picks, total picks, correct pick percentage and investment. Alright, now which channels were the best with their method of victory predictions for this event? And we start with the least and most accurate channels with their method of victory predictions. For least accurate channels from number 8 to number 4 we have the following 16 channels, with a correct winner plus method of victory percentage of 27% down to 18%. In third place we have Eagle MMA and Ankh MMA. Both of them had 2 out of 12 method of victory predictions correct for 16.7%. In second place with only 1 out of 8 correct we have Knockout Picks for 12.5%. And the least accurate channel this week with their method of victory predictions was Zlatan's Fight Picks. He only had 1 out of 12 method of victory predictions correct for 8.3%. Now which channels were the most accurate with their method of victory predictions? From number 7 to number 4 we have the following 15 channels with a correct pick percentage of 43% up to 54.5%. In third place is MMA BG. He had 7 out of his 12 MOV predictions correct for 58.3%. In second place is UFC FUTS. He made 8 method of victory predictions and had 5 of them correct for 62.5%. But the most accurate channel this week with their method of victory predictions was The Wager Zone. He had 7 out of his 11 method of victory predictions correct for a correct pick percentage of 63.6%. So congratulations to The Wager Zone for being the most accurate predictor with their method of victory predictions. And here is the complete overview of all 84 channels from which I've tracked method of victory predictions from this week, which as always also include channels that made method of victory predictions on less than half of all the fights, with their correct predictions, total predictions and correct prediction percentage. Which channels could have lost you the most money if you had followed every method of victory prediction they had made and placed a $100 bet on each of them? And to calculate these results I used the average odds from oddsjam.com, which were taken approximately 9 hours before the event started. From number 10 to number 4 for least profitable channels with their method of victory predictions we have the following 11 channels with a return on investment of minus 51.8% all the way down to 68.6%. Knockout Picks is in third place with a return on investment of minus 68.8%. With an ROI of minus 69.6% we have Zlatan's Fight Picks in second place. And in first place for least profitable channel with their method of victory predictions we have Marcel from MMA Oddsbreakers with a return on investment of minus 70.3%. Now which channels could have made you the most money if you had blindly followed every method of victory prediction they had made and placed a $100 bet on each of them? From number 10 to number 4 we have the following 7 channels with a return on investment of 36.5% up to 75.7%. And with a 0.1% higher return on investment for 75.8% we have Tank Top MMA in third place. And in second place we have MMA BG with a return on investment of 92.6%. And in first place with a much higher return on investment for their method of victory predictions we have UFC FUTS. And he had a return on investment of 152.7% for a profit of $1,222. So congratulations to UFC FUTS for being the most profitable and most accurate method of victory predictor this week. And there is the complete overview of all 84 channels that I've tracked this week with their method of victory prediction results, with their total money won or lost, return on investment, correct picks, total picks, correct pick percentage and investment. And for the last part we go over the longest losing and winning streaks and find out which channels keep losing or winning week after week with their winner picks. On a 2-week losing streak we have the following 16 channels in alphabetical order. And out of those 16 channels we have the following 10 channels that are on a 3-week losing streak. And out of those 10 channels we have the following 4 channels, Clanbot, Knockout Picks, Sportsbook Killer and The True Analyst, that are on a 4-week losing streak. And out of those channels, Clanbot and Sportsbook Killer have a 5-week losing streak. But only one channel out of those 2 is on a 6-week losing streak, which is Clanbot. And unfortunately for Clanbot it doesn't stop there, because he's also on a 7-week losing streak and an 8-week losing streak. Now, which channels have the longest winning streak? On a 2-week winning streak we have more than 30 channels, which is too much to show. And out of all of those channels, only 5 channels are on a 3-week winning streak, which are Live It Larry MMA, MMA El Dente, MMA Experts, Tyrell from the Running Mouth MMA Show and Keith Schillen from Sherdog.com. And none of them have a 4-week winning streak, so that's it. That was it for the results video for Vegas 111. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, have a great week and I'll see you in the next video.